To make concern, it's a cool podcast. Listen with your friends or listen with your dog, man. Subscribe today, it'll all be in your closet. To make concern, that's a really cool podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of To Make Concern. We are back once again with another episode for you beautiful people on this earth. I am Will, the man to my right is Steven, and if you've never seen the podcast before, this is where I deliver topics, and he may or may not know what I'm talking about because he is a very unknowledgeable, unknowable man of culture, as we put it.
Yes.
Ain't that right, Steven?
Yes. See, some people would say uncultured. We just say unknowledgeable man of culture.
Unknowledgeable man of culture. It's like when you have to stretch out what you're saying to like meet the word count.
Yeah, basically.
Of an essay. Which I know you just love doing essays. That's what we talked about all the way back in episode 3, I believe.
I love how you remember exactly what episode it was.
Essays, and it was the one where I think it was like gravity isn't relevant. He has a 1,000 word essay on why. You remember that?
Yeah.
I believe that's like a year ago now. We've been doing this for 1 year.
I made one about why ducks wouldn't be able to take over the world as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. What was our conclusion on that?
That ducks not being a sentient race and having to compete with human establishment and technology would be in a position of extreme disadvantage if they were to attempt to do that.
Right. So the TLDR of that is no.
No, yeah.
You're doing it again. Over explaining to meet that word count. All right.
I just like to go into a lot of detail about what I'm saying.
All right. But regardless, welcome to the show. I just want to start this off by talking to Steven about something interesting that's happened. So a couple of days ago, our church that we both go to when we are not in college, they held a yard sale recently.
Oh yeah, I heard they were gonna be doing that.
Yeah, so everyone was like outside holding signs up and like trying to advertise like yard sale right here. Pull into this driveway. Come on, yard sale. We're selling stuff.
Definitely not suspicious looking driveway.
Wait, what's suspicious about it?
I don't know. I was trying to make a joke.
What's the punchline? You can't have a joke without a punchline, Steven. And on this episode, Steven fails to understand what comedy is.
I mean, isn't that just every episode?
You know what? You have a good point. And that's the end of the podcast. We're not making any more. Goodbye. Nah.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, I'm not in Steven's corner today, and that is definitely because of my privileges being taken away for a certain joke that I made last episode.
Wait, what? Would you like to elaborate?
You don't remember?
Are you saying because we were talking about the president or something?
No, This man.
I don't remember stuff. Explain to me, Steven.
You told me to take down my Steven's Corner banner on the TV.
But I gave it back to you. I gave it back to you at the end of the episode, didn't I?
Yeah, but you know, the viewers
remember.
The viewers don't have to know that.
It's at the end of the episode. They can go watch. They can go see.
Yeah, but let's just say that you're ruining the joke, Will.
I don't care about your joke. You don't know what jokes are.
I was trying to. You know what?
I am breaking this man.
You know what? You know what? You've lost your shirt privileges. Shirt off now.
I like my shirt.
Well, too bad.
Why are you making me strip?
Okay,
Is that what the viewers really want to see?
let's not go
Think
that
about the
far.
viewers. Do you really think they want to see this?
Hey, let's not go that far. It was just the shirt.
Okay, it's gonna be like. We got off topic. We always do this. I always start with a story and then we go into something else. We went from yard sale to taking off shirts. Congratulations, Steven. You're the king of derailing. That's the title of this episode. Steven is the new king of derailing. Or should we just call it the king of derailing?
Derailing conversations.
Yes. So, back to the yard sale. So everyone had signs up trying to advertise, and one of them even had a speaker that I think they were playing music or wherever, like Christian music. And
yeah, obviously, what other kind of music would they be playing? Anyway, go on.
I decided to take over that speaker, and you want to know what I did?
Oh no, I'm okay.
I was like, and I told Caitlin about this too. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this opportunity with all these people at the yard sale to advertise this podcast.
Just plays the opening song for the podcast.
I did. I literally took over the speaker and I just played the opening song. And so
everybody at the church just hears. To whom may concern, it's a cool podcast. Listen with your friend or listen with your dog, man.
Subscribe today or I'll be in your closet.
Did you forgot the lyric to his own song?
I don't know how. I'm sorry.
It's almost like you don't edit the intro into the episodes every single time we make one.
No, I do. It's not like I re-record it every single time. What do you think I do? I re-record the song every time? No. I get one recording and then I have that recording that I can just reuse.
Yeah, but the point being, you still have to hear the song. Maybe not the whole song, but you still have to hear the song.
I still hear the song, but
edit
I
it
didn't
in.
know this. Me performing it live was not something I knew we were going to do. So under the pressure, I cracked a little bit. Okay, can you blame me?
No, musicians have to, especially rappers, have to be able to perform easily under any type of pressure.
They know
on
going
spot.
in that they're going to do that though. It's not like
they have to be able to do it.
Coming in on the spot, that reminds me actually. There's a series of shorts, on YouTube. I'm gonna send it to you later, but where it's I think it's at a jewelry store or something, and rappers will come in and and basically the host will be like, all right, so if you can finish your own lyrics, you get $1,000. You get $1,000 basically. And so basically what they'll do is they'll start rapping part of their lyrics, and then the rapper themselves that actually rap that, what they're rapping, they have to finish the lyrics. So they have to remember their own lyrics. And some of them get some of them don't remember their own lyrics. So some of them just sit there wait, what goes next?
My guy, you literally wrote this song.
So even professional rappers have trouble with it. Meanwhile, I'm nowhere near a professional musician, and that's actually what's gonna be funny about this yard sale story. So after I played the intro, it was haha, funny. And then since I was still taking control of the speaker, I ended up just playing some electronic music, stuff you hear on in SC. I think what I even did, I looked up the NCS, no copyright sound playlist. I just played from that. Yeah.
Basically the kind of stuff that I listen to.
The entire driveway went from playing this Christian music to just sounding like a rave party with the music
Hey, listen. I wanna be clear here. They're playing Christian music because it's a church, obviously, but they're also having a yard sale, and obviously the point of a yard sale is to attract people to come to your yard sale and buy stuff. Mm-hmm. What kind of music is going to attract people more than music that makes it sound like they're having a rave?
Yeah.
I think that Will had a pretty good line of thinking there.
But then I took it a step further. I thought, wait a minute, we're having a yard sale. Why don't I just make a yard sale song?
You just
And
rapped a
so
yard sale song on the spot.
on the spot, I literally went to like the quiet part of the church. I literally spent just a few minutes just like trying to piece together a song
This
based
is
on this.
this is how rap songs are made, guys. Just a reminder. This is
This is not a rap song. This is I would be hard pressed to call this a rap song, but I have it right here. It's called the Yard Sale song. I literally just call it the Yard
what an
Sale song.
original name.
And keep in mind, I just made this very quickly. I'm gonna play it over the speaker. Yard sale, yard sale, yard sale. Yard sale, yard sale, yard sale, yard sale. Y-A-R-D sale. Y-A-R-D sale. Y-A-R-D-S-A-L-E yard sale. Yard sale. So yeah,
The greatest lyrical masterpiece of our generation.
yes, the lyrics are just yard sale, yard sale.
I also love how out of sync you are with the music sometimes.
You wanna know what I had to do to make it? Basically, what I had to do, I grabbed this. There's this guy on YouTube who he literally goes by the name of the guy who sings your name over and over, and basically his whole gimmick is that he'll just sing a name over and over. So like your name would be like Steven, 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 and that instrumental that you heard is what he sings the song over, like over and over, and he does this with a lot of
You
things.
just ripped off another guy, but instead of a name, it was just the word yard sale.
Basically, like I didn't have time to come up with an original melody or like an original like piece. You know what I mean?
You mean to tell me that you can't just do all that in 5 minutes?
No, that's absolutely bonkers. That's absolutely outrageous. So yeah.
Hey,
And also,
speaking
I just now
of,
realized
hold
how I might have just screwed myself because I do know this guy is a very notorious for copywriting people who use his music. So I hope that just because I played it through a speaker, I didn't play it in the actual video,
we're gonna get
that we won't get
copyrighted.
claimed. We might actually get copyrighted, which I hope it's just like a claim. And that, what if he wants to copyright strike us just because they
mean,
use this instrumental for a yard sale song?
to be fair, we're not monetized, so like they can't demonetize us. The worst that can happen is the video gets taken down.
Probably. If that happens, I'll probably mute the segment. If you're watching, viewer, and you couldn't hear anything, that's probably why. Because I do know this
Yeah.
guy is very notorious. Because the reason why I know of this song to begin with is because I saw another video by a YouTuber who basically what he was doing is like he was trying. Viewers would submit music for him to listen to, and he would try not to react to it. And someone, and his name is Patrick CC. That's his name. His name is Patrick, and someone sent him a video of a guy of a song from this guy called the Patty song, basically calling him Patty. It's like Patty, 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 and he was like trying to not react, but then eventually he was just like, fuck you, stop calling me Patty.
Uh, yes. So anyway, there's an interesting little bit of information that I feel like bringing up just because I know it might interest you. So a couple episodes ago, it was not the last episode, but a couple episodes ago, we basically had an entire episode where Will was talking about what I called rap politics, which was essentially just him describing the beef that different rappers had with each other, while I did my very best to stay entertained. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's probably, I don't know how recent it was or how related it is, but I've seen like memes going around on YouTube recently that Kendrick Lamar dropped again, which I'm assuming means that he made a new song. Uh
Yeah.
So I I don't want to go on for a super long time about it, but I just wanted to point out that that was something that I noticed.
Yeah, and I'll give a very, very brief update. Since making that episode, things have 100% escalated. And it's gotten to the point now where, like, Kendrick has made several diss tracks against Drake, and Drake has made several diss tracks back at Kendrick. And a lot, a lot of crazy stuff is happening. Like, Kendrick is calling Drake, like, saying that he's hiding a kid. He's saying that he's like a predator. He's saying he's a sexual deviant, like all this stuff. And then Drake is
Wow.
like saying that Kendrick beats his wife. He's saying that he, you know,
Well, this is getting
there's a lot of
serious.
insanity going on right now.
This is getting serious. This is getting out of
Yeah.
hand.
So, yeah. Since making that video, a lot of crazy stuff. It's gotten to the point where for the past few days, like a diss track has just dropped. Like yesterday, Drake released his. At the time of recording this, the latest diss track to come out is the one Drake made called "The Heart Part 6," I think. And on it, he essentially denies everything that Kendrick is saying about him, and he also says that he's been feeding Kendrick fake information to like try and make him look foolish for using it. Like he's saying that the allegation that he's hiding a kid that he had uh, was something that he planted as like a way for Kendrick. Like this is literally a movie that's playing out in real time. Like it is absolutely insane though, and yeah. But and it's gotten to the point where like people who don't usually talk about rap are actually talking about it because it's very interesting. So yeah, expect to see more memes coming out of it, dear Steven.
Hopefully not. I don't know why those are getting shown to me anyway, but I guess that's just the YouTube
It's going to get
algorithm.
to the point where like everyone's going to know about it. Like
That's
it's just
fair.
going to get. It's like it's proportionally just getting like the news and like the drama of this is just getting bigger and bigger, and it's expanding. It's expanding outside of like the like rap scene, outside the scene of people who are like already going to be talking about this. Like this is going to be like, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up making like mainstream attention. Like people who are not usually involved, like who are not usually like knowledgeable of this, are gonna eventually know about it. Like Moist Critical has already made a video talking about it, so it's like that alone is enough to show like this is not your average like rap beef. This is something that's like almost as big as like the Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. beef back in the day, which I know that those names mean absolutely nothing to you. I am struggling to speak to that. Let's take a segment called breathing.
It's where we try to breathe for.
Yeah. Whenever I keep talking, I end up losing breath. I'm just like,
He just can't get the words out. He's so excited to say what he wants to say.
I'm so excited. The excitement is flowing in me. I must tell people about this.
Yeah, you should be excited about I don't have any other topics before we get to the real topic of this episode.
Yeah, let's not dance around this anymore. This is what the video title is. It's we talk about the Digital Circus episode at this timestamp, and that timestamp is right now. We are now
Yeah.
going to talk about the new episode. This is essentially what the podcast is going to be. We'll talk about other stuff afterwards, but this is where me
This
and
is our
Steven, we
main
really want to talk
topic
about.
because
Our main topic.
this is like the one thing in the entire episode that both of us are knowledgeable about. So basically, because I never get to do introductions, I'll do the introduction. For those of you who don't know, maybe you didn't watch previous episodes or you haven't been following, the Amazing Digital Circus first actual episode came out a couple days ago. I think it was on Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah. It came out. It exists. It's been made. There's more Digital Circus. I know Glitch, the studio that makes the episode, they made a post about a day after the episode came out that it got 30 million views
30 million.
in a single day, which is insane. And let me actually just go check how many views it has now as of about 3 days after it came out.
You wanna know what's funny? I'm pretty sure on that exact day, we got a diss track from Drake and a diss track from Kendrick that came out within minutes of each other. And I think Drake fans and Kendrick fans were fighting over who were actually getting the most views, like in that in that day. And then I think that was the meme that came out. It was like, wherever you think Digital Circus beat out both of them.
Yeah,
Views.
it has 42 million views right now. So I think
Yeah.
most of the attention it got was probably within the first day, which kind of makes sense. It's like people were waiting for this.
Yeah, the hype is real. The hype is
Yeah.
very real. And by the way, if you haven't seen Digital Circus, either the pilot or this first official episode, go ahead and watch those if you don't
Yeah.
want to get spoiled, because we are going to be talking about spoilers
There
for
there
this
there
new
will there
episode.
will be spoilers for the episode in this episode.
I just
So,
want to go ahead and get that out there. And if you don't care about this, then I guess I'll have. You know what I was thinking of doing? Seeing how we do have topics, and like we could splice them up. I should start doing chapters
oh yeah, you
in
should
like the
actually.
podcast. So I have chapters of like when we are talking about a certain type of topic. Because like
Yeah.
on my screen, I don't know if y'all can see, but like I hold on. I wonder if I can actually do this.
Oh, you just shared
But like right here, this is literally my topics that I'm like watching.
topics
And
to talk
I'm
about.
looking at right here.
Yeah, there's the
So
there's your immersion breaking chat. Your reality has been thoroughly shattered.
yeah. I don't
Fourth
know how
wall
that's gonna,
demolished.
I don't know if that's potentially gonna mess up the recording.
It just makes it go to have three screens on Discord. So basically, the screen share that you just showed is gonna be a tiny box, or not a tiny box, but it's gonna be like a third of the screen real estate.
Okay. All right. So to start this off, just general thoughts. What do you think of this episode? This new episode?
My immediate reaction upon watching it was basically that it felt a lot less information dense than the pilot, which I guess kind of makes sense to a point because the pilot is supposed to be like the introduction episode that kind of says what the show is about and kind of like introduces all the main characters, the setting, the plot, the lore, and like we because of that the pilot, which was the same length as the first episode, by the way, I actually checked, they are the exact same length to the minute. I think
Oh, really?
they're like a few seconds off, but they are to the minute. They're both 25 minutes long.
Who had the most seconds? Who had more seconds?
I didn't look. I just saw that they were both 25 minutes long.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they were at least the same minute length, which is close enough. That means they
Gotcha.
were within a minute of each other. And
Gotcha.
the pilot episode, obviously it felt like we got a lot of information there because we got introduced to all the characters, we got introduced to the setting, we had like a bunch of lore that went on. And this episode, I think there was a little bit of lore in it, but definitely a lot less. And it feels like, in terms of the amount of information that we got and the amount of stuff that we learned about the Digital Circus world and like what's going on there wasn't really that much to speak of, unless you
It was
noticed
just kind of
something that I
this.
didn't.
It was kind of this event. You're right. It was definitely a lot less lore based. It was more just about this adventure that they're going on to like like save this kingdom, like get back the sheriff from these thieves, and that
Yeah.
was kind of the main objective that they were given by
Basically, the main premise of the Digital Circus that was introduced in the pilot, where Kane was kind of giving the exposition on it, where he said like the digital circus is the place where the characters go on adventures and stuff. This episode was basically one of those adventures.
Right. And okay, so overall, would you say you like this better than the pilot, or less than the pilot, or somewhere in between?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, I think I prefer the pilot from like a story building perspective, just because we learned a lot more from that. But you
Okay.
also have to realize the fact that what we learned in the pilot is offset by the fact that we didn't know anything before, so it was all new information. There was a lot of stuff in this episode that we already knew, or like we came into the episode with an understanding of like the general idea of the show basically. So
Right.
there was a lot less to be explained to us.
But I guess what I'm asking more is like, did you enjoy it in terms of like, was the story interesting? Was the adventure interesting? Were the character
uh
moments interesting?
I want to point out, so Jax, the purple bunny rabbit character,
Yeah.
who's basically the asshole character.
Right.
That's like his entire
Of course.
personality. Like of the group of main characters, he's basically just the asshole. Um but he basically was saying like his bit was that he didn't think the adventure was that interesting and it was anticlimactic. And I hate to be that guy, but like I think I'm with Jax on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those adventures that was kind of like, I think what this episode really highlighted to me was, I think the most interesting parts of the pilot, because the pilot was split up into kind of two, where like half the characters went on this adventure that Kane set up, and the other half were dealing with this abstracted monster thing.
Yeah,
And I think
basically.
that second part of the story was a lot more interesting than when Jax, Kinger, and Zubul were trying to gather the gloinks. That was like, it was fun, but it wasn't the most interesting part. The most interesting part, I believe, is when the characters are like dealing with other stuff. And here's where I'm gonna kind of go into critic mode. Be like, I'm gonna be the critic. I think this episode really could have benefited from like a few minutes of just the characters like being in the circus the before they head into the adventure, because this episode started with Pomni kind of having like a nightmare, which,
Yeah.
on a side note, Ragatha in the pilot talks about how they don't really need to sleep, and how it's only, but that makes me wonder, how are they able to dream then if they're not even
Well,
able to sleep?
well, it could be a thing of like they don't really need to sleep, but they do anyway. Which that does also create the question of why would they sleep if they didn't need to? But I mean,
Yeah, especially
that's
if they're just gonna have dreams that are like, because of this nightmarish situation you're put in, you're gonna obviously have nightmares. So it's like,
I feel like
I don't know.
any story comes with unanswered questions.
And this is, I also was thinking, this is my Matt Pat side thinking of this. Maybe it's not a dream at all, and maybe this is just a projection that Kane is putting into Pomni, the fear.
She's like, oh, whoa, hold on. Kane's putting what into Pomni? I didn't think the show was gonna go that far. Like, whoa, calm down, dude.
I meant, Steven, stop. We've 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 been here before, Steven. Why was why were you thinking that?
Hey, I just want to remind you, and I just want to inform the chat of this. This is the same guy who told me over the phone when he called me to tell me that we were going to do the episode today, and I quote, "We are going to bang the episode." All right, so I don't want to hear it.
right, we're gonna do a segment called "Trying to Process." Trying to process.
So, as Will was saying, his MatPat side was essentially having a theory that what if the dream was not actually a dream and it was essentially like a vision or a hallucination that had been sent to Pomni by Kane for some reason that is not explicitly told to us in the episode.
Because the reason why I say this is because a lot of these online shows, I feel like, can't necessarily do like make these episodes kind of like episodic, because while there is kind of like a lingering thing, or like especially at the end where they have a funeral for Cosmo, which I feel like was the best part because that was like the character moment that I feel like character growth that I feel like was missing from the majority
Maybe.
of this
But
episode.
I felt like there
Like,
was more character growth in like because you have the scene with Pomni and the
yeah, that's what I was going to get into. This episode is also split into two sections with Pomni and that other guy like having an existential crisis after seeing his character
yeah
model,
who
and then the
he
other
was given
characters.
he did say that he had a name, but for the sake of how much I liked the character, I'm calling him the Australian gummy dragon looking guy.
The Australian gummy dragon looking guy.
Yeah,
But yeah,
basically
this episode
all of
this
those
episode
characters were
has
Australian.
Pomni and Australian dragon guy and the other characters going on this other adventure. And again, much like the pilot, I much prefer this stuff rather than them going on the actual adventures itself. So
Yeah.
that has me a little worried about if the adventures is supposed to be like the main aspect of the show and we're enjoying this stuff more, then it's kind of like you either need to like have more intriguing adventures. Because here's the deal, like I think the show kind of rags on this itself in the pilot, is like these adventures don't really mean anything. The only
Yeah.
reason why
I mean,
these adventures
all the
are happening.
characters. To be fair, yeah, all the characters also talk about it. They're like basically the adventures are just there as like a form of entertainment for the characters. Like they don't
Right.
serve any tangible purpose.
And this is why I'm hoping that the show will hint towards like a deeper like hint towards the real reason, because obviously you're not just gonna have a show like this and have them go on these adventures without like a behind the scenes reason that
Yeah.
Kane is having for
And
these.
obviously there's lore to be uncovered because like if the pilot tells us anything,
Yeah,
they wouldn't put with the amount of lore and background like story building and plot stuff that they put in the pilot. My logic is they wouldn't put that like because it's a pilot, right? The point of a pilot episode is to basically gauge interest in the show and see if it's worth turning it into a full show. And so obviously like if people are interested in what happened in the pilot, then that's the kind of stuff that they're going to want to see when you make it into a real show. So I think it would be I don't think that they would, or at the very least if they did, it would be pretty bad business practice to have lore that was established in the pilot and never get used in the actual show. So because of
I'm
that,
saying they're not going to do that. I guess what I'm just saying is I wish they had at the very least a little something
yeah.
to like hint, like just give a little hint, you know what I mean?
I mean, there could be something in the episode that both of us are completely missing, but
I mean, I guess when Kane just like, and it's getting to like the very spoilery part, when the Australian dragon looking dude comes to the circus and Kane just like pops him out of existence, and then he just talks about, oh, don't worry, we'll have other adventures with that other NPC.
yeah.
I think that kind of gives an idea about how Kane views like these NPCs. He doesn't view them as like being people who could actually have feelings. Meanwhile, he's viewing like
Well,
these other people like
and
Pomni, Jack.
that's an interesting interaction to bring up as well because in that same interaction, he refers to the main characters as humans and and
Right.
differentiates them from NPCs, which implies that there is something about the main characters, like where they came from, for example. Because if you remember in the pilot, obviously we know Pomni got to the digital circus by like putting on some kind of headset, right?
Right.
And the other characters mention vaguely that they got there in the same way. The NPCs are obviously different because they're created by Kane. So there's a differentiation there between the types of characters, which doesn't really tell us that
Essentially,
much,
yeah.
but
But then we can read into how that the Australian yellow dragon looking dude, how he reacted by seeing his own character model. And there's a lot you could read into, like how like one could make the argument that because he was able to recognize and like after seeing his character models, the way he reacted brought some form of humanity into what was initially an NPC. And you have to wonder how much humanity could be left in those other NPCs that Kane is just ringing up every time there's a adventure.
right. But you
But
also have to realize
there's
like
interesting stuff, but I just feel like I just wish there was a little more to that.
right. But like personality aside, from the point of view of Kane at least, and probably this is like the actual real thing, the NPCs are like Kane considers them to be like different and lesser because they didn't come to the digital circus from the real world, which it's implied that the main characters did. So
Right.
I think that's the distinction that he's trying to make when he says like you can't just have NPCs running around.
And that again brings into question the whole purpose of this whole digital circus operation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what is actually happening? So I guess in later episodes we'll start getting hints. This is just episode 2. I guess me asking for more hints is just me being impatient. Because like these episodes do obviously take time, and it's been a while since we've gone from pilot to second episode.
Yeah, it's been a very long time, and I know Matt Pat is now retired from making videos, but the game theory and film theory channels do still exist. They're just run by different people now, so I'm interested to see if there'll be another film theory episode on the Digital Circus episode.
Sure there will. I'm sure there will be. So we've talked a little bit about the Pomni and Australian dragon looking dude for a while, but now let me talk a little bit more about this other section with like the rest of the characters. So you mentioned Jax earlier about how he was like complaining that this wasn't so and so. I really didn't find Jax as funny in this one as I did in the pilot. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think I would also add like in the pilot he was obviously established to be like the asshole character and he's kind of mean to all the other characters, but he did it for like comedy and because it was funny and the outcome of what he did or the context of when he did something was usually funny. I feel like in this episode he was literally just there to be a jerk to the other characters and it wasn't really
I
for
think
comedic effect.
yeah, it was definitely a lot more forced. It was definitely forced in
Yeah.
this episode.
It
It
felt
felt
yeah.
natural. It felt natural in like the first episode because it was clear that like again they were establishing his character, and you know I think it was also just kind of like one example from the pilot that stood out to me is when he was like when he and the other characters are talking to Pomni, and like he goes over to Zubul, and like I think he like pops off her arm and uses it as a back scratch, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like he gets choked out because of it, and that's like it shows like repercussions for his for him being a prick. And I don't think we ever got that in this episode. I think he never really got the repercussions of being a prick because you know at the end when they they essentially have this duplicate truck full of the maple syrup that they needed to bring back to the kingdom. they were like, well, let's just give this truck of maple syrup to these dragon looking dudes, and then we'll take this duplicate and take it to the kingdom. But then, as we saw earlier, they also fell into a river that had like this fudge monster thing. I
Yeah,
forget what it was called.
he called himself the Fudge.
The fudge. And Jax literally like was like, well, let's use him to get back to the kingdom. Or something like that. But then by the end, it's like Jax was like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna have a fudge monster coming by. And they were like, wait, what? And then he was like, all right, bye.
Bye,
like,
peace out. He was like, I
like,
I may or may not have left the gate to the kingdom unlocked, and then they just dipped.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like if they framed it or they did something like a little more humorous, where like I feel like it's in the pilot, you at least could see like where Jax's behavior was coming from, where his actions were coming from, and you could like tell to a certain point why he was the way he was. But in this episode, he literally went out of his way to like do stuff just because he's a prick and not because it was actually like rational. And I think because of that, it was a lot less funny. And like, I think there's a line he even like says to Gangle, the face mask thing, and where he was like, "You're supposed to be submissive and agreeable," and that I felt that to be the most groan-worthy joke in the whole episode because it was just like really submissive and agreeable, really. That was kind of a groaner for me. What did you think of that?
I don't know. I just like obviously I like noticed that it was a play on the submissive and breedable joke, but like it didn't really work there. I just feel like
again, it felt forced.
yeah, I just feel like the context was like
that's the best word to describe the humor in this, in the adventure part of the episode. It felt forced. It felt very forced.
At least from Jax's side. But to be fair, Jax was the only one who was really going for humor, so
yeah. So
I think
I do still like this episode. I'm so excited for the episodes. But
yeah.
if by any chance any of the writers or creators or anyone involved is somehow watching this, I just want to kind of like take notes, just in case, you know, just take notes of like how everyone else is reacting. Because full disclosure, I don't know what everyone else is saying, but this is just kind of like our opinions.
Yeah, the opinions of two very random people on the internet.
Yeah.
Two what was it? Philosophically insane.
Yeah. So take it from a guy who is not a professional critic in any sense of the word. I'd say for your future plots, try to develop the characters in a way, and like try to have the characters in scenarios where their actions make sense, and you can derive the humor from there.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
Nah, I think for me personally, in my opinion, the funniest part of the episode was when Kane was describing the adventure, and he was saying like a bunch of maple syrup, something about the maple syrup. And he said sounds sticky, and then Bubble says sounds, and then says something long that is apparently so bad that it had to be censored out. And afterward, Kane just says, "Bubble, you can't say that."
Yeah, I love the way he just said it. It's like, Bubble, you can't say that. I love that delivery. The thing that does confuse me is why was it just like a traditional bleep and not the like wacky sound effects they usually use for this like sound effect?
I feel like
it would have been funnier. Me personally, I felt like it would have been funnier if it was just a prolonged sound effect of like the wacky
Yeah, to be
effect.
fair though, I feel like ironically that actually was done for comedic effect, and in this case I feel like it actually worked because like a bleep is
Yeah, I mean, it's still funny, I will admit,
like
but like, I felt like
a
it would have
bleep
been
is a bleep is universally recognized as like a censor sound. It's something that goes
right,
over something that you're not supposed to hear. And
right.
so it's
It's a
funnier when you
classic joke. It's a
yeah,
classic
it's a
joke of
classic
like
joke
having
where you have it's not just like bleeping a single word, but basically having a character saying like an entire section of something and the entire thing just being bleeped because everything they said was just that bad. It's
yeah.
I think having it use the classic bleep sound effect instead of the normal censor sounds kind of helps the comedic effect of that a little bit.
That yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, I do see that. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I will also one more thing I will say, and this is kind of going into a another segment of me ranting about YouTube. Uh, why is it that on the YouTube app, like when you pull up a video and it automatically shows you the top comment, and that's what it does, right? Because
Yeah,
when you
it
go on the
has like
mobile
a
app
it
and
has like
pull
a
up a video,
preview.
it'll show the top comment. That's kind of like a preview.
Yeah, it's like a
And
preview on the button for the comments section.
it'll show you a comment. And in this case, before I was even able to load the episode, I saw the top comment that basically spoiled the ending of how that Australian dragon dude ended up.
And that's
Basically,
why you can't look at comments when you're watching these episodes.
and the,
That's why I always watch the episodes in full screen. You can't.
but here's the thing: before the episode even loaded, I didn't even open comments. But the top one that showed at the preview underneath it showed the comment saying the spoiler. So
That's why I just don't even look at the comment. Like I said, people are going to spoil stuff when you're watching episodes like this where
I
you
get
don't want
that,
to be
but
spoiled.
I
You
expected I
cannot look
expected
at the
the
comments. You
I
cannot
expected the top
look at the
comment to not
comments.
be a spoiler. I expected the top comment to not be a
No,
spoiler. Though that's
do
what
not trust the
like
YouTube comments section ever.
I and this is the thing. I never even opened the comment section, but the preview like it spoiled it for me. So why? So I'm saying, why is it that it's set up this way? Like, and here's
Because YouTube determines top comment. Like YouTube doesn't care if there's a spoiler in the comment. In fact, YouTube probably can't even tell if the comment is a spoiler or not. So YouTube doesn't care. It determines top comment in the same way that it does for all other videos. So like you just have to assume that the top comment could be a spoiler.
my suggestion though. Why not implement a feature where if you're gonna make a comment, why not make it to where you could mark it as being potential spoiler? Because here's the deal: YouTube has content that's coming out that's essentially making it kind of like a streaming service. Like there's legit studios like coming out, and I think also like a bunch of like obscure like shows that used to air on TV are being uploaded for free on YouTube. I know that YouTube even has like a their own like lineup of movies and shows that you can rent.
Yeah.
So here's my
I mean,
question:
there's like YouTube
why not
TV and
implement a
too.
feature where you can mark a comment as a spoiler, and in order to see the comment, you click on a button to like see the comment? Like I know there's other places, like especially on streaming services that allows comments, like Crunchyroll, they allow that to like where you can mark a comment as a spoiler. I feel like YouTube should do something similar.
Maybe.
Do you agree?
I yeah. It could help. I do feel like there's still gonna be those people who just don't use the feature and just post spoilers without spoiler marking them.
Or
But it might
if not
help.
that, then at the very least get rid of the preview thing. And I just don't even show a preview to the comment. Just like have a button for if you want to go into the comment section,
What
but
I've
don't show the
noticed,
preview of the comment.
what I've
That's
noticed
that's
is
my big thing.
sometimes on some videos, and like it only happens on some videos. I don't know why, and I don't know like what determines if it happens or not, but I'll have videos where it doesn't show a comment preview, and it'll just have the button where
Yeah,
it
and
says
that's so
click
weird.
here to
I
leave
know
a
exactly what you're
comment.
talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Sometimes it doesn't show a preview. So
Yeah.
I'm like, why not make this all the time? You know what I mean? And it's very like first world problems, like not super
Yeah.
important. Just like, but this is something that really like pissed me off because when we got to that part of the episode where we learned what the guy's name was, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna survive in this circus. I'm just like, I know what's coming and I don't like it.
To be
It
fair,
should be a
me
surprise.
me being the person who didn't see the comment, I was speculating that like cuz like obviously Guy is still an NPC, right? And so when he said like coming back to the circus, I was already skeptical. I was kind of
I also
anticipating.
would have been skeptical to begin with. Like, I have a feeling I also would have been skeptical, but it's like, this is only the second episode. We don't know. There's a possibility that he
Yeah.
could have been a character.
Well, I mean, yeah, I
Like,
was thinking of a
but
possibility
like, I
too,
don't know.
but I was anticipating something where like when they were all walking back through the portal at the end, I was anticipating something like he wouldn't be allowed to go through the portal or something like that. And I mean, like basically the same thing happened. Like I mean,
Right.
it had the same effect. But yeah, I mean, like
I'm not
I
saying it
didn't
would
see
have
the
been
comment,
like.
and I could still see
I'm
that
not
coming.
saying. I'm not saying it was like a huge heartbreak to me. Seeing how it was tragic because like they did build him up as being kind of like a nice guy, and then
Yeah.
him just like boom gone. Like that was kind of like
But to be fair,
tragic. But it's not like I was like
he
I don't know.
was just an NPC. Like you gotta realize
He gave a little bit of humanity though when he had that existential dread.
I mean, I guess, but like
I don't know, but yeah, that's just my big rant about that because that really pissed me
the
off.
one more thing that I wanted to say about the digital circus is kind of in the same category of like funny censorship, where it's like something is censored and you don't know what it is, but you can kind of tell what it is based on in what context it was censored, and that's what makes it funny. So before this episode came out, there was another video that Glitch released. There wasn't an episode, but it was called
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Pomni Wake Up, Time to Go on an Adventure. And it was basically
Yes.
like a teaser trailer for like the episode of Digital Circus. And during that trailer, Kane was basically describing like how Pomni had become popular, how the Digital Circus had become popular, and he was saying Pomni had basically left a mark on the internet because like she's the image of the Digital Circus, and he shows her like a web page that looks like a YouTube web page uh, of like videos and stuff like that, but the web page is blurred. And like when you see that and Pomni's
It's
reaction, the only thing that you can think of is that it was obviously Rule 34.
it's either Rule 34 or the content farm content that's been coming in, or both. They also could be considered as both at this point. But
Yeah, but like because it's censored, like it's funny to think about the fact that Kane just straight up showed Pomni her own Rule 34.
imagine if no this has hold on, I have an idea. What if one day some guy just walked up to you and showed you Rule 34 of yourself? How would you feel?
I don't want to know. I don't even want to think about that. chat leave a comment down below if somebody were to show you Rule 34 of yourself, and keep in mind you didn't know it existed before. Like you didn't even know people made Rule 34 of you. You just found out that that was a thing, and you got showed it, and it's of yourself. If that happened to you, what would you think?
There's a webpage full of it.
Yeah, it's just it's just slowly scrolling down the list. It just keeps going.
that is royally like that is royally fucked. Just thinking of that. But yeah. Final thoughts. I was wanting to give this episode one more rewatch before this to refresh myself on everything, but as of right now, I'd say it's not as good as the pilot, but I think it's a good starter. And I think
Yeah.
if the writers could definitely build on this and improve over time,
Yeah,
because
I feel
like
like it's
let's just
fair.
like
I was thinking like after I watched the episode, I feel like it's fair for this episode to be like a little bit less of a banger than the pilot because the pilot you got to realize they probably spent like a lot of time making the pilot like, beefing it up, making it as absolutely amazing as possible because of the what a pilot episode is supposed to be, which is basically like a
right,
pitch of the show, what the show is to the audience and the people who are going to watch it to
right.
see
I get
like if
that.
they're going
I
to
get
watch
that.
it. And so my line of thinking, what I think happened here is they made the pilot and it got received extremely well to the point where they said, "Okay, we got to make this into a series." But because a pilot is a pilot and it's kind of a standalone episode and it's meant to sort of exist on its own without any pre-existing lore or anything like that, and because a pilot is made, the thing about a pilot is it's not necessarily made with future episodes in mind because the point of its existence is to essentially determine if it's worth it to continue making a show, to turn the concept into an entire show. And so what it is when you make a pilot, you don't plan future episodes at that point, and you see how the pilot is received, and when your pilot is received as well as the digital circus one is, then you say, okay, we're going to start making a show out of this, and that's when you start developing a plan for a series and what episodes are going to be, and start tying episodes into each other. So I think because of the fact that the pilot isn't necessarily designed to flow into the rest of the series, it's a little bit better. I think like the series is still supposed to build off of the pilot. Like if you have a pilot and it's received really well and you're going to make a series out of it, then it makes logical sense for the series and the next few episodes to build off of what was established in the pilot. But with Glitch not necessarily having a concrete plan of what they're going to do as of making the pilot and basically just coming up with that plan now with this first episode, I feel like having the first episode be a little bit lacking, and maybe future episodes will go more in depth and build more on the lore and the plot. It kind of makes sense.
Okay.
That
That
was a
does.
very long-winded
I get what
explanation.
you're saying. I get what you're saying. Uh, I guess I was just hoping that this like standalone, like not standalone, but like this introduction to the linear like season of episodes. I was just I was just wishing it would have been a little bit like sharper, I guess.
Yeah, well, like I said,
Like,
like I'm not denying the fact that it was lacking in content. I think it was. I think that like it definitely
but
didn't
the
have
thing is, they can definitely improve. They can definitely
yeah,
improve.
yeah.
So it's like this
Like
isn't like
it's a good
one and done. Like, oh, you messed up once. We're not watching anymore.
yeah,
Like,
it's
no,
not saying this is
obviously
a
not.
it's not saying that this is a bad show because the first episode didn't have as much information as the pilot, essentially. Like this show still
Well, it's
has,
not even about information. For me, it was just like
or just
it
being
was a
like,
little lacking in like the quality of the
yeah, yeah.
content in comparison to the
But
pilot.
basically
It's not
saying
just an
like,
information thing. It's more of like a is the story written well? Are the characters written well?
yeah.
Like, do these like side stories and main stories like do they intertwine with each other in an interesting way? Does the story wrap up neatly?
But
Do we
it's the
have
thing of
interesting character growth?
it's the
And
thing of the
I feel
idea
like only a
of
couple of those things got addressed.
it's the idea of
But yeah,
essentially that like the first episode, because this is technically the official first episode, even though we had the pilot. It was a pilot, and like I already spent like 5 minutes
I
explaining
think
what
it's
that
called.
was.
I think it's on YouTube. It's referred to as the second episode.
Oh, well, they may be treating it as the second episode. Then.
I think
But
even
either way,
in that other video you were referring to, I think Kane has a line where he's like, the Digital Circus pilot has been upgraded to episode 1 of the Amazing Digital Circus full series. So
Oh yeah,
they
he does say
essentially
that.
said it went from pilot to first episode.
But it's still like the first time that they like made an official episode with the mindset that like this is an episode of what's going to be an ongoing series.
Right.
Whereas the pilot was made as the pilot was made as this is a show. Like this is its own
Right.
thing that we're making.
Like had there not been any more episodes, then it would have remained as just the pilot. But because there are more episodes coming out, it's now referred to as episode 1. If you go back to other cartoons, like Fairly Our Parents, if you go to the first episode, it'll literally just say pilot.
Yeah, but it's a matter of it's a matter of the mindset with which the episode was made. The pilot was made out of the mindset of we're going to make this new show, so we're going to make this one episode that's a single episode that basically says what the show is about, and we're going to put it out to the world, and we're going to see how it gets received. And then, since it was received really well, the first official episode was made with the mindset of this is the first episode in a series of episodes that's going to make up a show. There's a difference, and I feel like that difference is kind of ties into the difference in quality between the episodes. Not
necessarily. Okay.
Basically,
let me bring up an episode.
Basically, the point being that we're not going to claim that the Digital Circus is a bad show and is not going anywhere because the first episode was kind of lacking and didn't go anywhere. Like, there's still potential. There's still room to build up the story and improve the episodes as they go.
I just want to bring up an example of how a second episode after the pilot, how it was done right, in my opinion. There's another online show called Hell of a Boss, and it's made by Vizzy Pop, and I don't know if you've seen it.
I think you mentioned it in one of our previous episodes, but I don't think I've never actually gone and watched it.
So Hell of a Boss, I'm not going to get into what it's about, but basically they had their pilot where they explain what the show is about. They introduced the characters, and it was it all took place in this office where they essentially were just talking to each other, and it had several cutaways to like other stuff, to like whether it be like in jokes or stuff like that. And that's essentially what the pilot was. But then the next episode, the official like second episode, or first, depending on how you want to look at it, outside of the pilot, was a linear storyline of like they have an objective that they try to like take care of, and that makes up the entire episode. Kind of like how this second episode of Digital Circus had just this one objective that they try to take care of. And I'd say in Hell of a Boss, they pulled it off really well, to the point where I would much rather watch that episode rather than the pilot, because even though the pilot episode is really good, this episode is where they show off like what a natural episode looks like, and they do it really well, to the point where it's preferable to watch that over the pilot. So I don't think that it's impossible to have second episodes that are better than the pilot. I just think that in the case of Digital Circus, they just kind of like, they just need a little improving, which is nothing wrong with
there's still nothing wrong. I mean, like you gotta realize
there's still a lot of potential to like make it a great show and just have a lot of banger episodes.
Yeah. And you gotta realize Glitch is still like a very new studio. Like they don't have like a lot of experience. So like they're still figuring things out. They're still like, learning as they go. So like you gotta give them a little time.
Like they've had other shows before. I do agree with the sentiment that they are a fairly new studio, but I'm hopeful that future episodes, they'll start to get their stride a little bit more, and as the characters evolve, and we hopefully might start seeing some new characters that turn to recurring characters. We'll just have to see where it goes from here. That's the main thing. We're gonna see where it goes from this point. You know what I mean? So yeah. That was a very extensive talk on Digital Circus. I have two other topics I want to talk about. Uh, they're not going to be as long, obviously, because,
Yeah, we said this episode was
What?
going to be a banger, or in the words of a wise man, we are going to bang the episode.
Okay, let me explain that real quick. So I literally called Steven, and we just repeated the phrase, this is going to be a banger episode, just banger episode. And then eventually it just evolved into, we're going to bang the episode.
No, I want to. I know this is going to be detrimental to me and make me look bad, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's comedy. When he had called me on the phone, uh, we were basically talking about how we were going to make a banger episode, and he goes, "Yeah, we're going to bang the episode." And like, I didn't fully get. I didn't fully get the joke at first, and so my response to that was, exactly, we're going to take his lunch money.
Yes, because that's what banging is.
And he goes, yeah, because that's totally what banging means. And then I realized it.
Oh yeah,
and
I just banged this game nerd lately. I just banged him right by the water fountain.
My line of thinking was bang like means like hitting something, so I was thinking of like beating the episode like physically.
Yeah, we're gonna punch the episode,
and so that led to
punch it,
and like that led to yeah, we're gonna take we're trying to take the episode's lunch money. I like actually
I'm gonna take your lunch money.
I genuinely forgot what the term bang meant in that moment, and then I remembered, and I was so embarrassed that I just hung up on Will, and I DM'd him on Discord a minute later saying we're not going to talk about it, but yet here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I am an idiot. I know you don't have to tell me, chat.
Don't worry, we know.
Yes, I know, you know, everyone knows. It's a well-established fact at this point.
I know, you know, we all know.
That Steven's an idiot. Anyway.
Right. So this next topic, Steven, I'm just gonna run you with a question.
You're gonna run me? Now you're taking my lunch money.
No. I'm gonna run a question. I'm gonna ask you a question. Let's say there's this band. Let's say there's this rock band that has songs. And
whoa. The rock band has songs? No way. I would have never even thought. That is crazy. Well, are you telling me that a rock band, a band that is literally exists for the sole purpose of making music, has songs?
All right,
like there's no way.
Let's say they have this one song that I really like listening to. And I listen to it all the time, but I haven't heard any of their other songs, and it's only that one song that I listen to. Can I consider myself a fan of that band despite only knowing that one song and listening to it several times?
That's a very interesting question. I would say it probably depends, because you gotta realize with bands, and I'm going to contextualize this in a format that I'm more familiar with, which is if you are a fan of a video game that is produced by a certain company, can you call yourself a fan of that company?
That's not really the same of what I'm talking about. Like,
I mean, it's still a digital producer making a digital media product for the purpose of entertainment. Like,
with the example that you're giving, that's like asking if I'm a fan of one or two artists, am I a fan of the entire label that produces these artists? Like that, I don't think it's quite comparable.
It's like a piece of content. Like if you're a fan of okay, we'll generalize it. If you are a fan of one piece of content produced by a certain producer, can you consider yourself a fan of that producer in light of all the other content that they produce? And
hold on. Let's think of a better.
I no,
let me
I get
let me
what you're
just give you,
saying.
okay, okay,
I get
all
the
right.
question.
Let me just give you an example. Let me just give you an example. You don't have to know any of these people. So, okay, there's this rock band called Breaking Benjamin. It weird name, but whatever. And they have this song called "I Will Not Fall" that I like listening to. I like that song. I listen to it all the time. But that is the only song that I really know. There's other songs that I'm familiar with, but that's like the only song that I consistently listen to. And despite that, the other day I was in conversation with someone about music we listen to, and I brought up Breaking Benjamin as a band that I like, despite the fact that that's the only song that I've heard from them.
Right. I feel
Would you
okay.
would you
So
say that? Okay, go ahead.
I feel like there is a distinction to be made between liking content and liking the producer of that content, because you have to realize, with especially with bands, like this isn't always the case with game studios, but with bands and making music, they usually make a bunch of songs, and
Right.
they'll have like albums that'll have like several songs in them, stuff like that. There's usually a lot of different types of, or not different types, but different pieces of content that a band makes. And all of that content is not necessarily the same. Generally, bands will make like one particular genre of content, like they'll make like rock music or rap music or pop music or something like that. They'll generally stick to
It's
one
the only
genre.
genre they do.
Yeah. I think like it depends on how big the particular song is in like their lineup. Like if it's their most popular song and it's the reason that everybody knows that they exist and you like that song, then I think it would make sense to call yourself a fan of that band because you like what basically the kind of work that makes them the most popular. But if it's one of their like lesser songs that nobody really knows about and it gets overshadowed by like some of their more popular songs, and like it's still a song that people know about, but it's not one of their most popular and not like the reason that they're famous or well known, then it gets a little bit more complicated because you like this song, but you're not necessarily saying that you're a fan of like the kind of content that this band is known for. And when you say that you're a fan of a particular band, what people are this is not always like when you say that you're a fan of a particular band, you're not necessarily saying that you're a fan of the type of content that made them well known, but that's what people are going to assume when you say that.
Right.
They're
Right.
gonna so like if for example if you said like you're a fan of I I have to my uncultured self has to think of an
I'm
example
gonna
for
give another
this.
example. I'm gonna give another example. There's a lot more typical, and this is one that people have made jokes about too. So this is very well known band called Nirvana, and their band name and
So
their
well known in
logo,
fact that I have actually heard of them.
is like part of a part of, I think it's called vintage or some kind of like trendy clothing to like wear their like
Yeah.
little like smile with the X
I've
eyes.
seen shirts with their logo on it.
and and, and a
It's
common cliche is like people to wear Nirvana shirts and not even know who Nirvana is.
well, yeah, because I think that has to do with the fact that fashion trends and like popular music are different. So people will wear that shirt because they see it being worn as a fashion trend, but they don't actually know why people wear the
Right.
shirt.
And as for me, I know Nirvana for their most popular song. And it's the only song that I've heard from them. That I consistently listen to over and over. So could I consider myself a fan of Nirvana if I only know that one song?
Well, like I said, like if it's their most popular song and like the one like the reason why people know them, then when you if you just go up to somebody and say like you like Nirvana or you're a fan of Nirvana, they're probably going to think of that song and they're going to assume that you are a fan of that song. And so since you are a fan of that song, then it makes sense to call yourself a fan of the band But it also
Let's say
seems
they ask
like,
me about other songs that I like, and I
yeah, then
give a
you,
shrug and like, I don't know, I only know this one song that's
to
the most
be
popular.
fair, yeah, when you think about it from that, when you think about it from a different angle, and you think about like being a fan of a band, because like I think there is a distinction to be made between being a fan of a song and being a fan of a band, because like being a fan of a band generally entails like, knowing about all the songs that they produce, like following them and like knowing when a new song comes out, and being a fan of
Right.
most of what
I
they
think that's
make.
the most. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like the difference between being a fan of a band and being a fan of a song.
Yeah.
Like, but for me, it's a little bit more kind of like
It was like, for
if
example, like,
if I listen to a song and I have the assumption that all of the music sounds like that one song that I like, then could I still consider myself a fan of like that sound?
I mean,
And essentially
maybe
call myself a fan of that band.
I'm thinking of it in terms of like, for me, right? I've obviously, I like, even though I'm uncultured, I still hear like popular songs, because you don't live in the world and not hear popular songs. Even if you don't know what they are, you
Right.
still hear them.
Right.
So
Every time you, like, if you go to the mall, they'll play the latest
yeah.
Dua Lipa or whatever.
Or in this case, at my college's dining hall, they play a bunch of stuff. Um, but
Okay.
but there's like a couple, like I can listen to a couple of those songs and hear them and be like, that's a song that I kind of like, right? And but if I say that I like that song just because of that, I wouldn't call myself a fan of whatever band produced
Okay.
it. Like, just me
Yeah, that, that,
personally.
that makes that makes a little more sense. Like if like let's say you were in a store and you heard a couple of Drake songs that you
Yeah.
like, and you went out and you said you're a Drake fan,
Like if
then
I'm
like
like
that
if
that
I'm in a
wouldn't
store,
necessarily.
like if I'm in a store and I hear like a Drake song, like you said, if I hear a song and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking like, this is kind of fire, and then I go and I look it up and I find the song and it's by Drake, and like I add it to a playlist or something and I start listening to it regularly, but it's just that one song. I'm doing that because I like the song, I like the music. I'm not doing that because I'm a fan of Drake. So I wouldn't then go up
Okay.
to somebody and talk about how much I love Drake just because I listened to that one song.
Right. I think that's kind of like the angle I'm getting at. Right.
Yeah.
So even though I will sometimes be guilty of this, I do agree that like yeah.
And of course,
So
this is just my view on the matter. I also do
right.
not generally follow like popular music and stuff like that. So it's hard for me to call myself a fan of anything in pop culture because I barely
Right, we're
know
just
about
speaking
it.
hypothetically right now.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, I think that'll be the end. I think how long have we been going?
We've been going
It,
for an hour and 17 minutes.
yeah, I was thinking. There's no way it hasn't been an hour at this point. I think it's about
Yeah,
time
no.
we go ahead and end the episode.
This one was indeed a banger.
It was
Got
indeed
that
a
digital circus talk.
digital circus Riz.
Digital circus riz. No, you know what? You've lost your privileges. Next podcast is just gonna be me.
No, no, I'm the host. I reigned over.
Yeah, you
All
reign.
right.
You reign, all right. You reign on my parade when you say things like that. And the viewers.
Wherever that means. And thanks for watching. We'll come out with more banger episodes soon.
Yes,
So
we will
like
come
and
out
subscribe.
next
Oh,
episode.
we have a whole phrase for that.
Next episode.
How's it go again?
Next episode on the podcast. Will and I are going to be coming out publicly.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Hold on. What are you saying, Steven?
You said we're gonna come out with another episode, so in the next episode we're gonna come out.
Okay. We're not gonna come out, but we are gonna come out with a episode. Y'all know what I'm talking
We're gonna
about,
cut.
and
We're
he
gonna
clearly doesn't.
we're gonna come out with an
Whatever he
episode.
wants
We're
to
gonna
do,
be
that's his business.
we're gonna be coming
As
out,
always.
and the episode is also gonna be coming out with
As
us.
always, Please like and subscribe for another episode of a completely straight to make concern. Goodbye.